everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a speed build for you, and I'm calling this the Goths vacation home. And for those of you who don't know, in The Sims 4 and, well, other Sims games as well, the Goth family is kind of a staple, if you will, of the Sims community. And this is just kind of the vibes I got once I finished the build, because I just feel like this is where they would go to like get away. So for this build, we're actually in Henford-On-Bagley. So kind of up in the mountains, it's like that top lot. So we're surrounded by this really awesome scenery, all the trees and the waterfall, which is gorgeous. And as you can tell, I'm starting with this like red shingle and everything, because this build actually went through a lot of different variations. So originally I had started with a cottage because actually my mom was here over the weekend and she was actually building with me, and she was like, I want to build a cottage and have chickens and cows and everything in the yard. However, then it kind of morphed into this like idea of having like an alpine like aesthetic to it, which is why we had the red roof. But then all of a sudden it became a lot of stone and black, and we just completely transitioned into a more gothic look to this house. So it changed a lot in the first several minutes of us actually working on this build. So she was actually sitting here with me, and throughout the whole entire build, she's like, where are my chickens? What happened to my chickens? There are no chickens in this build. It just turned into, like I said, a gothic vacation home is what I'm going to call it. So later on we'll put in an awesome pool outside, just kind of like a really nice place to get away. But this ends up being a 2-bedroom and then 3-bathroom house, which is like a lot of bathrooms for some reason, but it's just kind of the way it worked out with the floor plan. And upstairs, actually, it's more like a master suite and then with a office / guest room. So maybe this is just where Bella and Mortimer Goth go off to like have a vacation from the kids and all. And it actually, so this house actually gets a little bit bigger too. We end up expanding it a couple of times. So again, it was supposed to start as this cute small cottage, and then it just became a lot larger over time. I think we expanded like twice. So we started with that, again, like trying to hold on to that like cottage vibe with those interesting shutters. So I guess there are still some pieces of it being a cottage here, but it's just not necessarily evident in the rest of the build, which again, you'll see a little bit later. But we use red as our main accent color. So the house is going to be mainly red, black, and white. And I go through all of this, like changing swatches of this poor mailbox, and we end up getting rid of it in the end because we decided it didn't really go with the house anymore. And I think soon we'll end up expanding it a little bit. I think we went to go look at the floor plan, and my mom decided it needed to be a little bit bigger. And I was trying to with the stairs, like I like the idea of, and you can see I'm like struggling so hard. I don't know what it was with the stairs. Every time you put them near a window, like the window locked to the stairs. So when I moved the stairs, the window moved and the flower box moved, and anyways, it was kind of chaotic there. So excuse me, trying to figure this out. But we end up just doing, stairs right there by those windows. I was hoping maybe to have like a cool like landing in the stairs, like you go up and there's a landing and then you go up the rest of the way. But it didn't work out that way because then it kind of chopped off parts of the windows there in the corner. And then I went a little bit back and forth about having here's our first expansion that we felt like we needed. And then I think we do it again later. We end up, I think, turning the balcony like kind of half into actually a room and the other half leaving it as the balcony. It ended up becoming like an exclusive balcony for the master suite, which you'll see later on. And I struggled a little bit with this floor plan, but I felt like with it being this more gothic build, I felt like I wanted it to be a little more closed off versus like open concept. So I end up kind of blocking all these spaces off. A lot of the builds I do are more open concept where you can kind of get to all the living spaces from each other and you don't have to like go through hallways or doorways or anything like that. But for this build, I decided to go for it. And again, this is when we really just leaned into the gothic vibe with this red and black tile, which is actually gorgeous. I don't use it very often because it's not necessarily my color scheme. But we go through a lot of variations of, excuse me, the floor. and just trying to figure out, you know, what exactly we want to do for this floor plan. But we end up, and there's bats on that wallpaper we use in the kitchen, and I didn't realize it. I don't think my mom did either, but now I'm sure she's listening to this, and now she knows there's bats in the kitchen. So she kept making a joke that it's vampires, and actually we used a lot of vampire stuff in this build. Although I kept trying to use those like candelabra, like chandeliers and stuff, and I don't know, it just gave a weird like lighting look to this space, and I wasn't necessarily going for dark. We were just going for like this like classy gothic, if that makes sense. So we didn't use any of the like cracked walls or holes in the walls or all that other kind of stuff that came with vampires. And I did like the idea of using the curtains that came with vampire, but they are so tall. Like, I don't know why they're so tall. I guess if you want to use them, it has to be in a larger build. I don't know, but I don't usually use like larger wall heights. Like, I know this is like the shortest, and that's usually what I always use. And we do go through a couple different couches, I'm sure you'll see here in a minute, trying to figure out what we wanted. I was partial to using those like crazy looking chairs from vampires, but my mom wasn't exactly thrilled with those, so we did not use those. We went with a little more, and again, this is like cottagey, like kind of, I don't know, like I like that couch and the matching chairs. I think that was from Cats and Dogs, but it does give like a cottagey vibe to me. So I don't know, maybe there are just some cottage accents here, but not necessarily the whole entire build. And then it took a little while to search for what I wanted, like in the center, like a coffee table or something, or ottomans, and you know, also the idea that like you want to make sure your Sims can actually walk around. Having one ottoman looked weird, but having two was too big. So anyways, I think we ended up just leaving nothing there, since there were like two end tables, and it, you know, everyone that's sitting in the living room would have a place to put their drink or whatever. And again, it's not like Sims actually do that, so it doesn't really matter, but you know, it just seems more realistic. And then we end up putting this cute little bar cart in the corner, which I guess could have gone in the dining room, but there is a huge like kind of counter area in the dining room when we get there later, so I feel like you could put stuff there. And then this is just a smaller one that would end up in the living room. And I use these panels that we got in the recent kit, and I was trying to use like the mirrored thing again. I believe we do use some mirrors in there, but we don't use that many, just because it was a lot in that space and it looks a little fun housey, if that makes sense. And so we ended up, and this is actually a piece of artwork I don't think I've ever seen before. I know we just got like a Sims delivery or whatever it's called, where they give us some new content. So I don't know if it was in that and I just didn't realize it, but it actually I thought looked really nice here. And then I like the idea of being able just to like see into the kitchen, and we end up, it actually has a ton of counter space in here. And I do end up adding an island in here. I was back and forth on whether I wanted to put an island or maybe like a small breakfast table. But I just thought, you know what, let's make it a crazy looking kitchen, just have like all the counter space in the world, dream kitchen situation. And so, and again, this is just a lot of vampire stuff. I can't remember, I think those are the vampire counters. To me, they look similar to the ones that came with Realm of Magic, but I don't believe that's the case. I think these are the vampire ones. And they actually have upper cabinets, so yay for us, we actually could have some. And I actually put a dishwasher in this build. I don't always put them because I feel like I just forget about it, since it's not a big deal for your Sims to wash dishes, you know. I feel like half the time when I'm playing, I usually just drag the dishes into the sink so they don't have to deal with it, since they usually don't clean them up. But I feel like if you have them clean them up enough, they start doing it on their own. But I don't know, maybe that's just me and what I think they're doing. And then I just wanted to add some extra stuff on the wall, and I wanted to, the aprons I feel like I'm using in all of my builds now. That came with a Sims delivery like a while ago, but I feel like I use it all of the time. And then I thought they might have some like herbs or something on the wall, and I know there's a bigger one that came with, I can't remember which pack, but we ended up using the smaller one in here. And I like the idea of putting like a, you know, one of those little wine fridges that you see sometimes, and that's what I was trying to make work there, but it did not. But oh well, that's all right. And we end up using like, again, this like vampire I don't know exactly what its use is, but to me it kind of looked like a cookbook, so I thought it was nice to have that. And so you would be looking at like your recipes while you're cooking. So I don't know, I just thought that kind of looked cute. I don't think I've ever done that before, but that was actually my mom's idea. She was like, "Do you have any cookbooks?" And I think we do have like a stack of cookbooks, but I don't think it was quite right for this build. So anyways, you see me here trying to figure out exactly what we want to do with this dining room. And I think at this point too, we're really leaning into that vampire gothic look with those chairs. And again, I don't actually think I've ever used those chairs before because I just don't usually make builds that look like this, but I thought it looked really nice actually. And that was me checking to make sure the lamp was not too big, because that's actually a very large lamp. And I had to size it down, but I wanted to make sure, like, from top view, I feel like sometimes I put stuff and it like looks fine, but then when you actually look at it, like it's huge and it's like dropping into the table, or like your Sims won't be able to walk by it, that kind of thing. And I was trying to do something interesting with some of the cabinets because they overlaid and you could kind of see the handles through it. So I thought it'd be cool to make it look like that actually was a cabinet. However, it didn't quite line up right, so I ended up taking it out. It just kind of reminds me of a cabinet I have, although it's not marble, it's just white. But it has like the gold hardware on the front, so it just reminded me of something I have in my foyer, so I was trying to recreate that. And then I just thought this would be a nice place, like, you know, the idea would be, I guess you would put food out here and like a little buffet. I believe there actually is a buffet table in the game, so I guess I could have used that, but I decided to use this instead. Just thought it gave it a nice clean look. And these were actually flowers that came with the wedding pack that came out not too terribly long ago, and that I thought looked really nice and fancy in this build. And I do end up using them again a little bit later. And then setting up, this ended up being, I was thinking this would be a half bath, but it ended up being a full bath, which is why we have 3 full baths in this house, which again it seems like overkill since there's only a master bedroom and then a like guest room / office, which is actually what I had in my old house. We had a room that had like a queen bed in it, and it had both mine and my husband's desks in it. So it was a very multi-purpose room. In our new house, we now have our own office and a separate guest room. So that works out really well. And I ended up kind of, yeah, as we can see, you're just kind of rearranging it, which I think it makes a lot more sense here. And I end up using that aesthetic, so I'll like the toilet and everything upstairs as well. And I don't think I've ever used that vampire's toilet because I guess, like I said, I don't really make builds like this. And I wanted to like a simple like entryway, and so we went with this like console table. Is that what you'd even call it? But just something really simple. Again, because this is like, in my mind, a vacation home, so maybe like there's just not as much stuff here, if that makes sense. Like it just looks clean and maybe not as much clutter. Now, I didn't decide or think about whether or not like this is like the Goths own this and they like rent it out, or this is just their chosen place they like to go. I'm not really sure. And again, I don't think I've ever used that portrait on the wall. I think that was from the spooky stuff pack, maybe. I don't think that was the haunted paranormal pack. Yeah, the paranormal pack, that's what it's called. But like I said, I just kind of left it just like a nice entryway, kind of plain, not a ton of stuff. And this where, like, yeah, like I said, we added, kind of expanded it out to make it a little bit larger and made that balcony a little bit smaller, and just made it an exclusively master bedroom kind of place. And then I was trying to figure out how to, like, I realized I was like, the lighting looks really weird in this room, and then I remembered I actually have to put a roof on it. So that's just me trying to figure out exactly what I want the roof to look like for this. Because I kept feeling like the roof on the main part of the house was just so tall and large that I had to, you know, mess with it a little bit till it looked a little more normal. And the floor plan was actually, I struggled with this a little bit. My original thought was that it would be like a master bedroom and then a like kids room or something. But I just ended up doing like an office guest room situation. And then I had a hard time figuring out, because the plan was to only have 1 bathroom upstairs, because that makes sense to me. Like I said, 3 is a lot, but trying to make a bathroom that is accessible from like a hallway, if that makes sense, like you would just walk up and be able to access it in one of the rooms, became difficult. So I ended up doing a lot of moving around, and then it just ended up that both of the rooms upstairs had their own ensuite. So that's how we ended up with 3 bathrooms. But you know, it worked out, I think. And I ended up putting like a closet in here, and this bed does go, by the way. I just needed to see what size the bed, like how that looks and how that layout would be, especially with the windows on that wall, because I wanted it to be between the windows, and so that helped me see exactly what I wanted that floor plan to look like. And I feel like I've been using the angled wall like we see in what will be the master bath a lot more. I just felt like it made the room a little less closed off. And again, just kind of pulling the same stuff we had downstairs upstairs, so you know, everything was very cohesive. And that also was something I was thinking about, was like, if I had a kids room upstairs, like what would that look like? I feel like typically I make the kids rooms like really bright and colorful, and that would just look so weird in this house. So that also, I was like, maybe I don't want it to be a kids room, maybe more like a guest room. So anyways, shift in what we were thinking about. And I'm like throwing all these windows on the back of the house. Later on, like I was like, it's not a big deal, it's on the back of the lot, but we end up moving the lot, like the house on the lot later. And then I feel like you might be more likely to see the back of the house, and the windows looked so insane. So we ended up tweaking that a little bit because I just couldn't handle it. It just looked way too weird. But I think the only thing that really changed was, I think it was like this like stair landing up here. I end up like only putting 1 window later, so we'll see that a little bit later on. And I do end up changing this rug because I liked the idea of the rug, but the red just did not match the red in the rest of the house. So to me, it just looked funny. So I ended up replacing that a little bit later. And then again, just kind of keeping it simple. And then in this bathroom, so I cut out actually a lot of footage because I knew I wanted to put one of those cool corner tubs in here, but it just trying to make it work. Like I moved stuff around so many times. Anyways, I spared you having to watch me do that. So I cut all that out, and there in the middle you may have seen too that I swapped out which bathtub I was using. I just thought the angular one looked a little bit better, but it was rough. It was rough there. I ended up like pausing the recording several times just to think about what I wanted to do with this poor bathroom. Like it went through a lot of renovation, let's just say that. So anyways, I cut all that out, so to spare you. But we end up, adding all the necessities, a little hand towel, and then the toilet paper, of course, because that's important. And then just a towel rack. And then we end up, the weird thing was, since I like the idea of having the sink under the window so you can like look out, but then it's weird because there's not like a mirror. Anyways, so we try to decide what we want to do with the mirror. We do end up putting a small one on that wall. I did try for a second like the big one, but in case you're unaware, you can't actually, like those mirrors that you put on the wall, you can't move them down for some reason. Like you can like raise them up on the wall or like move them like side to side, but you can't like make them go lower on the wall. So it just kind of looked funny. And then this bed just matched so perfectly. I was so excited actually when we found it. And then I forgot like what pack that came in, but it just seemed fancy enough like for the tufted headboard that it just looked right. And we did go through a bunch of different ideas for the walls. I liked the idea of maybe using like wainscoting, but I didn't find one I quite liked. And then I was actually, both my mom and I were actually very surprised that we ended up really liking the red wall. And it ended up looking very nice actually when we were done, I think anyways. And so just adding, I think we actually swap out, those were the lamps that I used down like in the dining room, but we end up putting these like fancier little chandeliers. Again, I sized them down because they are pretty big, but I just thought that kind of looked fancy. And I know earlier I had like 2 closets, but I ended up just doing one because I wanted to fit like a vanity, because I also thought that made sense with the fact that there really wasn't space in the bathroom for that. That maybe Bella has a vanity here and she can use that. And we went through a lot of renditions of what chair we wanted to use. So I personally pulled the one that was downstairs that actually went with the dining room. My mom was not a fan, so we swapped it out a few times to try to find one that maybe wasn't as tall and like overbearing. But it worked out. It still looks really nice. And just putting a robe on the wall. And we do put like a full-length mirror on the side wall here in a little bit. And I don't know what was happening, but like that like makeup thing was just not like sitting on the vanity well. Like it didn't like sit the same way that like candle tray thing did. I don't know. So I ended up having to like manually like set it where I wanted it. I have no clue. I don't know if that's normal. I guess I don't use that object as often, or maybe I don't use it on vanities. Maybe that's just how it works on vanities. I don't know. But that was, I was very perplexed when I was trying to do that. I was like, why is this not working? But it's all right. It worked out in the end. I think it looks really cute, like thinking like she's got, like Bella has her makeup and like all of her like perfumes and things. And I feel like I keep using like these pillow like blanket baskets, like the one downstairs from Cottage Living. So I guess my mom did get a piece of Cottage in this in this build. It's just not a Cottage itself. And then that one I think is from Eco Lifestyle. And then I think I actually end up using like a Journey to Batu plant. Yeah. I don't use like any of the stuff from that pack, but it just kind of looked cool in there. And I was also really excited I got a chance to use this shower tub combo with like the red swatch, because I never get to use it because I guess I just don't use this color. So I thought it looked really nice in there. And then I end up finally adding that mirror that we tried to use in the other bathroom and actually fit here. And then we just put a little bit of clutter in there. Again, I'm thinking this is like a guest bathroom, so just put some towels and you know, nothing too crazy in here, just because again, this is a vacation home anyways. I just don't think it'd be very like cluttered with personal stuff, because like the people wouldn't be here very often. It's just like they would bring their own things and then like pack it up and leave. So again, I'm not sure if they rented this out or if this is just a place they found and they're like, this is the place we're always gonna go. But you know, it's all good. So here, I wanted to put something on the wall, and I end up putting Bob Pancakes. I don't know if that's a movie poster or whatever, but it kind of matched colors. So he ends up on the wall. And when like I said, I put the window in the middle, I end up moving him just to another wall. So he's still there. And then out here, I actually, like that thing that's on the wall, I think that's really supposed to go like in front of windows and things like that. But I ended up thinking that it was like maybe like a planter. And so I actually sized down one of those large, like looks like a rose bush, and put it inside of it. So it kind of looks just like a big planter. And then I was thinking just putting like a little like 2-person table out there, but we just went full on like 2 huge couches, like really luxurious, like balcony situation. And then we do end up adding like string lights up here. And we do end up adding a lot more like architectural detail, actually, because I do downstairs like update the columns and everything that are out front to kind of match the new Gothic aesthetic that we came up with here. But yeah, so this is just us finishing up like the guest room. And so I had a hard time. We didn't want the bed to be as fancy as the one that was in the master suite. So we wanted one that still looked nice, but it just wasn't as, you know, fantastic looking. So we ended up keeping it simple, and I ended up only putting one end table in here because I thought like I didn't want it to be too cluttered, and since it was a guest room, it was fine just to like put a little plant over there. But we did end up putting a TV on the wall, which I thought was kind of funny that that's in the guest room but not like in the master suite. But I don't know, maybe they also use it for their office. And then I end up sizing it down. I actually don't even know if TVs work size down. Yeah, I have no idea. So we ended up making it larger and just moving the windows around a little bit, and then just putting a cute little desk over in the corner, which I think actually ended up looking really nice. So like maybe if they're on vacation, they can still do a little work or check in the office if they have to, which I'm definitely one of those people when I go on vacation, I just want to be on vacation and I don't want to be on my computer checking on work or anything like that. And right now I'm actually like teaching. So I don't want to be grading or anything like that when I'm on vacation if I can help it. So I just try not to even bring a computer with me. Although that's pretty hard to do these days, to like not actually be like in touch with work and everything like that. And then I think at this point, yeah, we revisit outside to kind of tweak it a little bit. And so we end up pulling those couches that we put on the balcony down onto the porch and just mimicking that aesthetic on the front, which I thought actually looked really nice, except for I had to swap out the long couch for the small one because the long one ended up like running into the flower planters, but I didn't necessarily want to get rid of those. And then here you can see we're kind of updating the columns to make it look a little more like it makes sense. And putting, what's that called, a spandrel? Anyways, those decorative pieces. And I thought it actually really nice to do the same thing on the balcony upstairs, and then creating this like lattice like design on top. So like it's not like really heavy and covering the area, but it does give it some interest. And that actually allowed us to put some string lights up there too. I was thinking about trying to put some greenery on top of it, but then I opted not to and just leave it alone. But I think it actually turned out really nice, just putting a few lights up there. And I thought that was interesting that actually came, I think, in the toddler pack. I don't know, it just seems kind of random to me. And like I said, we moved it on the lot, and then in a little bit I figure out that I'm not thrilled with how the windows look in the back, so I had to tweak them. Like I couldn't help it, I had to take care of it. And so we're just adding some more bushes out front. This actually ended up being a really lavish yard. Like there's like a lot of vegetation. So I feel like if it's a vacation home they own, they would have to hire someone to come deal with that, but it's The Sims, so we don't actually have to worry about it. But at first I wasn't going to go all the way around the build, but then I end up going all the way around the build, and that was us again having another crisis about what kind of mailbox we wanted. I guess I didn't necessarily feel like they matched super well like the ones we have in the game, but we ended up going, I think we actually stick with that one. And you can kind of get, just a second ago, a small look at what the windows look like back there, but like I said, it looks kind of insane. But don't worry, like I said, we fix it. Like we actually ended up pausing the recording and just having to sit there and like stare at it and try to figure out how we're gonna fix it. So there was actually a good 10 minutes in there where we were like, well, what do we do? Where do we move stuff? Because we liked the way the house was set up already, so we didn't necessarily want to tweak it a lot. So anyways, we fixed it, and so it looks better. If you actually look at the back of the house, it doesn't look as insane. So I ended up adding a little bit of terrain paint. I just think it gives it a little more realistic, like, of a look to have that. And then we end up putting so I tried to put this plant somewhere, don't worry, it does come back later. I do make like these really pretty lush flower beds later on, and then we tried to fence in this area because we wanted to put a pool in the back, and it ends up getting scooted over, but I think actually it looks really nice. It would be a really awesome vacation home. It actually, like, my mom and I were sitting here like, okay, now we want to go swimming. Like, can we please go? So once it gets a little bit warmer, maybe we'll get to go swimming. But right now the weather's just doing that thing where it's like hot and then cold and then yes and then no. Okay, that was my Katy Perry reference. And I actually, and totally off topic, somebody I know, a CC creator, made the Katy Perry pack, the Sweet Dreams pack, I think is what it's called, from The Sims 3. Recreated it in The Sims 4, and I kind of really want to download it. If you don't know, it literally is just a bunch of like candy related sweet treat things for the game, and I actually really want to download it and make like a bakery or something. That was totally off topic, but it made me think of that. And here I go, putting in a bunch of vegetation, and then we do end up like scooting over the pool and making room for, like I said, a very awesome backyard we end up having. I guess technically it's a side yard, not a backyard, but whatever. We end up adding like a hot tub and a grill, and I actually put like counters out by the grill, which I feel like is so fancy. I don't know if you've ever gone to like those home stores and you see they have all like the grill displays, and you can see like they have all the counters that go with them, and I'm just like, that just looks so fancy to me. Like that would be the coolest thing. I don't even grill that much, but it would be so cool to have in your backyard. Just a space for cooking and like having a mini fridge out there or something, and just like a really awesome hangout space. But anyways, I end up adding some lights to the pool, and then we do end up putting a decal at the bottom of the pool. Eventually it ends up being the spa day decal because I thought just it fit better, and just kind of was an interesting touch. And then we ended up with so 2 floats. I had only 1 in the pool, but my mom said we absolutely have to have 2. So yeah, maybe this is Bella and Mortimer Goths like get away and they go hang out in the pool. And then you can see obviously where I didn't do the terrain paint, so I had to go back and fix it. So we ended up having the hot tub. I think we actually swapped that one out for the one without the like gazebo thing on top of it. And then we do end up adding like a little table, and then we also put in, I kind of make this like weird makeshift like couch lounger thing. So you see me adding the lounge chairs, and then I just like put in a couch in between it. Anyways, I thought it looked really nice, and then we end up putting like the coffee table with like the fire in the middle of it. There's got to be a nice name for that. I've always wanted one of those because I think they'd be really cool. And like I love the idea of having like a really awesome like backyard, but I just don't spend a lot of time outside, I'm not gonna lie. It's not really my thing. But we did try the fire pit, and then we ended up replacing it in just a little bit for the coffee table, just because it looked like it fit the build a little more than like a fire pit. And then like I said, and we actually like, again, I paused it and we tried putting like all these pergolas and different covers over it, and then it just wasn't it. But I did end up making this like I don't know, like partition looking thing behind the hot tub. And again, I think that was spa day. And then I added that random bush. It just looked correct, you know what I mean? Like you just add something and you're like, it needs something. And then we have this, like I said, maybe they come and they have like awesome parties out here because there's just so much seating for just the two of them. So I don't know, maybe this is where they come and have get-togethers. I don't know. But we do add a couple things. We end up, because it was, I guess earlier, like I was saying, like having like a mini fridge, I thought that would be really cool. I don't know why I thought the mini fridges clipped into the counter, but they do not. Fun fact. So I end up just removing the counter and replacing it with that, like, I think that's a spa day mini fridge, just because I think it'd be really cool to go out there and you just have your stuff ready. And I think it'd be awesome too, like if you had a sink out there, but I ended up just leaving counter space because your Sims need that space. And then I ended up adding another flower bed because it looked weird having like a random pathway. So I like had to connect it to the other one. And then for some reason I had a really hard time finding that little partition. But anyways, so I ended up putting this flower bed in, and that's basically the end of it. It's the last thing I add. So thank you for hanging out with me and watching my build. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to download it, you can find it on the Sims 4 gallery, and my ID is down below in the description. And I've got some screenshots ready for you. I can talk this morning, and I hope you have a really sweet day. Bye, everybody.